noble and loyal, most faithful, heroic and undaunted city of Cuenca, Spain, whose historic area is perched on spectacular rocky cliffs, sculptured over millions of years by the rough waters of the rivers Júcar and Huécar, was declared a World Heritage Site in 1996. This well-deserved recognition is not only owed to its cultural attributes and assets, but also to the natural characteristics that surround the city. To talk about Cuenca is to talk about forests, water and rocks. To get absorbed by the discovery of its natural treasures is as easy as walking through the vast pine forests, crossing the large flat-topped hills bordered by rocky escarpments, and the deep gorges and ravines of the mountainous area that opens up behind the city, the Serranía de Cuenca. Only a few kilometers away from this unique city, the Serranía de Cuenca welcomes us with one of its most emblematic spots. Its monumentality is an excellent reflection of how grand and fascinating this protected natural area is as a whole. We are referring to the so-called Ciudad Enchantada, the Enchanted City. You find a trail immersed in the most beautiful corners of this unique landscape, which is the result of karst processes, and where you discover some of the most typical treasures, geomorphology, flora and fauna of the Serranía de Cuenca have on offer. With an area of about 20 square kilometers, the Ciudad Enchantada is one of the most significant examples of the karst landscape in the Iberian Peninsula and Europe. Recognized worldwide, it is not only part of the natural park of the Serranía de Cuenca, but it was also declared a so-called geosite, which is a site of geological interest, and natural site of national interest. If water is an inseparable part of Cuenca's landscapes, it is in the Ciudad Enchantada where its sculpting power, together with the forces of the wind, animals and plants, has been particularly distinctive and original. Knowing the origin of this place requires to travel back in time about 90 million years, when the ground we step on now was part of the bed of the Tethys Sea. At that time, the calm waters of this endless sea facilitated the deposition of salts, especially calcium carbonate, forming a seafloor of carbonate rocks. At the end of the Cretaceous period, 65 million years ago, and as a consequence of the alpine orogeny, the sedimentary rocks of this seafloor emerged from the water's surface in form of a vast plateau. Thereafter, the emerged platform began experiencing intense fracturing and continuous erosive processes, mainly through the differential dissolution of the carbonate substrate, rich in marly limestones and calcareous dollostones, the latter being especially resistant to erosion owing to its content in magnesium. After millions of years of exposure to water, wind, ice and biota, today we are able to contemplate this wonderful stone city of dollostones named Tormagal, or Enchanted City, which is one of the many that decorate the Serranía de Cuenca. Dressed as a magical maze of lights and shadows, alleys, stone seas and so-called tormos, The Ciudad Enchantada is full of peculiar rock formations and stones that play at being mushrooms. Bridges. Faces of people. Turtles. Seals. And even lovers kissing each other. Cuenca is so identified with the word tormo that it is difficult to find it outside this environment. This term is a derivate from the Latin word tumulus, and it is used to name a high rock with a flat top, isolated and prominent, which serves as a major milestone or landmark. Perhaps for this reason, it is easy to understand the name of the most famous karst formation in the Ciudad Enchantada, the Tormo Alto. We owe the basis of our scientific knowledge of these geomorphological wonders to Professor Odon de Buen, who started the tradition of annual scientific trips accompanied by his students of the Universidad Autónoma de Madrid in 1912. He demonstrated that the best textbook on geology and geomorphology was open and available to everyone in what he called the Ciudad Enchantada. The Ciudad Enchantada is distinguished by its geomorphological peculiarities, but also because it is considered a place of great botanical significance within the natural park of the Serranía de Cuenca. Its forests, prairies, shadowy areas, and rocky surfaces house a number of plant species with different levels of environmental protection. Mosses, lichens, and small tufts of rupiculous herbs cover the monotonous grey of the stone and convert it into a colourful miniature landscape. The European black pine, also known as Cuenca's pine, dominates the vegetation, forming one of the largest forest masses in Spain. Due to the influence of this particular geological environment, some individuals of this tree have been able to grow thanks to adopting extremely exceptional shapes. These pine forests are accompanied by several tree and shrub species that are characteristic in the Serranía de Cuenca, such as the Spanish juniper, the holm oak, the snowy mespilus, the common juniper, the prickly juniper, the common hawthorn, the wild rosebush, and the blackthorn, as well as by a number of aromatic herbs. The shadowy areas, where humidity is higher than in the surrounding environment, favor the presence of an unusual flora. The common holly, the Montpellier maple, the elm leaf blackberry, and the ivy thrive within the narrow alleys and the myriad of corners, reaching in some cases a significant expansion. Several specimens of European yew can be added to the group of plant species in these areas. As witnesses of the forests that dominated the landscape long before humans appeared in the Serranía de Cuenca, these yew trees, turned into wondrous trees longing for immortality, are true botanical relics. In the midst of this tangle of plant life, the holes of the rocky substrate favor the development of a particular rupiculous flora, which forms communities that are considered habitats of interest for the European Union. In this magical environment of forest and rock, a number of wildlife species find suitable places to live. Very elusive, we could say wild animals are the goblins and fairies of this enchanted landscape. In the prairies that are crossed by the alleys of the Ciudad Enchantada, we can observe clear and abundant signs of the feverish activity of wild boar looking for underground food. Red deer also invite themselves to a meal of fresh, lush green in the open areas of the Ciudad Enchantada and to a rest from the heat of the midday sun in the refreshing and quiet alleys. Signs of forage in small trees and shrubs indicate that this one and other cervids are abundant in this area. Turning to carnivores, it is not difficult to cross a sly red fox, always in search of some juicy fruits or small mammals to feed on. This spot of the Serranía de Cuenca is also inhabited by a huge community of forest birds, such as the Eurasian jay, the common blackbird, song thrushes, tits, the European robin, woodpeckers, and even birds of prey, such as the northern goshawk and the Eurasian sparrowhawk. Some of these forest birds, together with small mammals, such as the wood mouse, the Eurasian red squirrel, and the garden dormouse, are responsible for the trees and shrubs growing in the most surprising places of the rocky maze, as they use the holes and cracks in the rocks as pantries for seeds and fruits that are occasionally forgotten. Thus, in the Ciudad Enchantada, we can encounter some beautiful examples of plants and animals which contribute in their very own way to the appearance of the karst landscape and its habitats. Finally, the holes and clefts of the dolomite are also an excellent habitat for a number of reptiles, such as the ocellated lizard and several species of smaller lizards and snakes. Water, wind, animals and plants are the artists that leave their very individual prints on the rocks that make up the hard skin of the Ciudad Enchantada, which we can now take pleasure from. These unique elements are an authentic gift of the karst landscape, hidden in the depths of the endless forests of the Serranía de Cuenca, where there is no option but to flow, as its waters do, with life, time, and its enchanted landscape.